Good evening. It's December 30th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma. A shooting at a church in Texas left 2 people dead Sunday, with the gunman killed by armed parishioners. A live stream from the church showed the attack unfold, but questions remain on the motive. We want to warn you, the video is graphic and might be disturbing to some viewers. Reed Binion reports.
A lone gunman opening fire inside a Texas church Sunday, killing 2 people.
A gunman entered the West Freeway Church of Christ, White Settlement, Texas, during the church service.
One witness said she thought there was something suspicious about the man from the start.
You know, something was just telling me something's not right. Dressed in like beard and that's a wig. It looks so fake.
The deadly assault was over in just 6 seconds.
A couple of members of the church returned fire, striking the suspect who died at the scene.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick crediting the fast response of the armed parishioners.
This church had its own security team. The heroism today is unparalleled.
State law enforcement also praising their actions.
The citizens who were inside that church undoubtedly saved 242 other parishioners.
The church's senior minister expressing gratitude for the lives that were saved while honoring the memory of the slain victims.
Today is one sermon I'll never preach. It'll go away. It was called Leaving a Legacy. And 2 men today left a legacy.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
As Hanukkah draws to a close, officials in New York are still trying to figure out why a man with a machete stabbed 5 people at a rabbi's home on Saturday. The suspect faced a judge for the first time today, while authorities work to fight back against a string of potentially anti-Semitic incidents in and around New York. Camilla Burnell has the very latest.
Officials from around the country noting there's been a rise in anti-Semitic incidents.
I think there's an undercurrent of anti-Semitism that existed for some time.
You're seeing anti-Semitic rhetoric continue to ratchet up around the country.
And in the wake of Saturday's knife attack at a rabbi's home that injured 5 people, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says these kinds of incidents should be treated as domestic terrorism.
There is a scourge of hate in this country. It's ignorance, it's intolerance, but it's also illegal, and it's spreading.
Governor Cuomo directed state police to increase patrols in Jewish neighborhoods across the state, and New York Mayor Bill de Blasio is doing the same in New York City. Still, Jewish leaders say the members of their congregations are afraid.
It troubles me, it saddens me, because when acts of terror do these sorts of things, they terrorize, they create more victims, and then terror wins.
But community leaders say they won't let terror win.
We are fighting back. As a community, as a county, we are fighting back, regardless of what the motivations are, regardless of what the investigations reveal. The fact of the matter is we cannot sit around and do nothing.
I'm Camila Burnell reporting.
Journalists around the world brought us some incredible headlines in 2019. Tonight, Daryl Forges takes a look back at some of this year's top international stories.
Let someone else fight over this long, blood-stained sand.
President Trump shocked the world when he pulled U.S. troops out of war-torn Syria, a move widely seen as a betrayal of the Kurdish Syrian Democratic Forces who fought ISIS alongside the U.S.
Stepping across that line was a great honor.
History was made when President Trump became the first sitting U.S. president to step foot into North Korea. After many talks to end the decades-long war with South Korea and denuclearize the country, since then, North Korea has fired off several missiles and now says it has no interest in further negotiations with the United States. Theresa May stepped down as British Prime Minister after failing to secure the UK's withdrawal from the European Union. She was later replaced by Boris Johnson. The deadline for Brexit has been pushed back to January 31st.
He pulled all the strings.
Mexican cartel drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Convicted on charges of running a criminal enterprise, money laundering, and drug smuggling. Outrage took over the streets of Venezuela after Nicolas Maduro was sworn in for a second term as a Venezuelan president. Many countries labeled his re-election illegitimate, recognizing Maduro's opponent, Juan Guaido, as the legitimate president. An economic crisis has forced millions to flee the country. 51 people were killed in a mass shooting at the Al-Noor and Linwood mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. An Australian citizen has been charged in the attack.
We made our decision to ground the aircraft.
Aviation authorities grounded all Boeing 737 MAX planes worldwide after 2 crashes months apart. 157 people were killed in an Ethiopian Airlines crash shortly after takeoff in March, and 189 people died in a Lion Air flight last October. Software designed to automatically lower the plane's nose if it neared a stall is linked to both crashes. Boeing is suspending production of the MAX starting in January. Sorrow in the streets of Paris after flames tore through the Notre Dame Cathedral, destroying parts of the 850-year-old cathedral. Violent protests in the streets of Hong Kong. Riots began over opposition to a now withdrawn bill allowing extradition from Hong Kong to China, and morphed into calls for greater democracy and investigations into alleged police brutality.
We could detect no signs of life.
Tragedy in paradise. A deadly volcanic eruption devastated the popular tourist destination of White Island, which sits about 30 miles off the coast of mainland New Zealand. Massive fires ripped through the largest rainforest on the planet, the Amazon, this summer. The Amazon Inferno was sparked by cattle ranchers and loggers clearing land. A big win in the war on terror. ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was killed in Syria during a raid by U.S. troops. The crisis down under. A woman rushes into the flames to save a koala from an inferno burning in New South Wales, Australia. The wildfires have killed hundreds of koalas, which are an endangered species.
The birth of a newly born royal baby boy.
The world welcomed Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor to the world in May. The son of Prince Harry and the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, is 7th in line to the British throne. I'm Daryl Forges, and those are the world's most impactful stories of 2019.
It appears President Trump's tariffs may have backfired. A new Federal Reserve study says Trump's strategy of placing tariffs on imports ultimately led to job losses and higher prices. Trump's tariffs included those on steel, aluminum, vehicles, computers, and leather goods. Economists with the Federal Reserve say tariffs on Chinese goods started a trade war, and that 10 primary industries were later hit by retaliatory tariffs and higher prices. The Reserve says in September of this year, U.S. consumers and businesses paid more than $7 billion in tariffs. Starting Wednesday, minimum wage workers in California will see a hike in their paycheck. KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar spoke to some San Diego businesses about the impact.
It's the lunch rush at Corbin Q's Barbecue and Brew House in the College area. Corbin O'Reilly has been making barbecue in San Diego for 6 years, first in catering, then 2 years ago he opened up this restaurant. He grew his business from a staff of 3 to 15. This Wednesday, O'Reilly will have to pay his minimum wage employees $1 an hour more.
It really impacts our bottom line. We have so much overhead built in around the restaurant. Just any little thing, this adds on, especially if you're working a longer event, a cater event, and overtime kicks in as well. So these types of things just kind of weigh down the business.
The statewide law increases the minimum wage rate for businesses with fewer than 25 workers to $12 an hour. Bigger businesses will see the rate increase to $13 an hour. It's part of an effort to raise the minimum wage in California to $15 an hour by 2023. O'Reilly says the only way to offset the increased labor costs is to charge customers more.
We hate to raise the prices on things, but yeah, it's usually how it comes back, so we can keep affording our bottom line.
Sensei's Mexican restaurant has 2 locations in San Diego and employs 57 people. Many of them will see their wages increase Wednesday, too.
It's going to mean that our employees who make minimum wage get an extra $1 an hour, which is nice because the cost of living in San Diego is really, really high. A lot of folks who work for minimum wage cannot afford to live near where they work. And unfortunately, that includes where I run my restaurants.
Director of Operations Mikey Knabb says he might have to increase food prices too, but he says that's part of doing business.
So that's called commerce. You raise your prices. That's what happens. All of our costs go up over time. That's inflation. So fuel costs go up. That means all my delivery truck drivers are going to ask for more in their delivery fees. All our costs continue to rise. The answer cannot be to pay our employees less.
Both businesses say they will keep making adjustments so they can succeed in the new year. Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
Are you worried about what happens to your data on the internet? Well, beginning next year, thanks to a new law, Californians will be able to ask businesses to delete their data or be fined. KPBS reporter Shalina Chatlani spoke to businesses and consumer advocates.
Ever strolled through Facebook or Instagram and seen an advertisement for, well, that thing you looked up on Google just 2 minutes earlier? Targeted advertisements are commonplace on the internet, where human behaviors and preferences can be stored and potentially sold by tech companies. Emery Rohn, an attorney at the Privacy Rights Clearinghouse in San Diego, says identity theft, data breaches, and these advertisements are among the many concerns residents have brought up.
I don't want them to have my information, and now my debit card and my social security number and my driver's license are out on the internet apparently. What do I do and how did it get this bad?
A March ACLU poll showed 90% of voters in the state support more consumer privacy protections from online technology companies. And last year, residents got that when legislators passed the California Consumer Privacy Act. The legislation says consumers can request from certain larger businesses to know how their data is being used and ask those businesses to delete it or ask that it not be sold. Rohn calls it a landmark piece of legislation, especially in terms of the steps consumers can take to protect themselves.
Well, now, rather than saying freeze your credit or take some remedial steps to try not to be low-hanging fruit, we can say, look, why don't you go to that business, find out what information they have on you, and then take that control back.
The legislation has many businesses focusing on getting their data assets in order. But the legislation, which is still being hammered out by lawmakers, is fairly vague, says Justine Phillips, a San Diego attorney specializing in data privacy for businesses.
Until CCPA was here, this was a Wild West type world. You were allowed to amass data that was unregulated data. So really it was only financial information, health information, and very specific types of data that applied to certain companies that had regulations with respect to data. Now, the definition of personal information under California Consumer Privacy Act is really broad.
She says now businesses will have to figure out what data applies and whether they even fall under the scope of the law. For example, a business partner that's just providing software support to a larger technology company could be subject to the CCPA, like ESET, a company that produces computer antivirus products. Alexandra Albro is an executive there. She says even though ESET only collects a limited amount of data from its consumers, staff had to have lots of meetings on it, spend thousands of dollars, and hire a consultant to get prepared.
Well, first of all, I needed to educate myself on what is the act. Once I understood kind of what the act means, look at our business and the business model and how we communicate with our customers, and put into place measures, whether that is changing things on the website or whether that's changing how our systems work.
Albro says it's important to protect consumers' privacy, so the company is happy to comply. But she says ESET is a medium-sized business, so larger companies may have had to do more.
We need to keep a certain amount of data to be able to conduct business, and the law had that in mind as well. So there are exceptions to deleting information. So while it's not going to prevent us or other companies from doing business, it definitely is something where all the businesses have to think about, okay, what is it that we really need in order to maintain business.
ESET wasn't hit too hard, but Phillips says that may not be the case with other small companies.
This is going to be a trickle-down effect where the priority will be pushed down to organizations that may not just have the size to justify a large dedication of resources.
And that includes many businesses in San Diego, Phillips says. The city is home to a major tech industry. But despite the impending burden of data management businesses will have to address, consumer privacy rights attorney Emery Rohn says this has needed to happen for a while.
We have arrived at a point where consumers around the world are waking up to the realities of what it means to exist in a big data world, and they're pushing back on that.
Both of these attorneys say they believe lots of California residents will exercise their new rights under this legislation. Shalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
The need for blood is extremely high in San Diego right now. The holidays are a time when blood donations drop off. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says the blood bank is asking for your help, especially with one blood type.
We need about 300 to 400 units a day to be able to supply the hospitals that we serve.
But during the holidays, that supply dwindles.
High school and college blood drives are on hiatus because they're out for this session, and about 20% of the blood we collect is from those drives. So it's really the perfect storm that happens, every year, and so we really just need people to come out and donate right now.
And right now, the blood bank is running dangerously low on the most common type, O positive and negative.
Why it's used so much in hospitals. So the minute it gets on the shelf, it goes right back out to the hospitals that need it.
I'm donating platelets and plasma.
Richard Barker has been giving blood since the mid-1980s and has donated 54 gallons since then.
It's very, very quick. It's not painful at all. I would encourage anybody who even thinks that it might work out for them to come on down and give it a try.
Others say the same thing. Giving blood is easy, and it makes them proud knowing they're helping save lives.
I leave here feeling just better about myself. I don't know how else to say it, but just knowing that you could have helped save somebody's life. I can't really imagine doing anything better in your day than that.
Marcia Staub doesn't have the type O blood in short supply right now, but her daughter does.
She made an appointment. She's coming in Saturday, so I'm trying to round up all the O positives that I can.
No exercise for the following 24 hours, okay?
Okay.
If you're thinking about donating but don't know what type of blood you have, don't worry. The blood bank takes all types. To donate blood, you must be at least 17 years old and weigh at least 114 pounds. For more information and where to donate, go to kpbs.org. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Another storm system was set to hit San Diego, but it didn't quite make landfall here. So is more rain in the forecast for this week? Meteorologist Lauren Rainson has our weather report.
Good evening. Hopefully the kickoff to your new work and abbreviated school week. Well, you know what? I think most folks are still off school. But anyway, hopefully not too shabby for you, regardless of what you're doing. Our weather headlines continuing to feature those clouds kicking the boot. We're trending breezy, but with those seasonably cool temperatures into Saturday. Tonight, lows will drop near 50. We'll definitely keep those clouds at bay as we're getting rid of this next storm system. The track of this upper low has been trending more offshore. That has been resulting in less rainfall and high elevation snowfall totals than what was originally expected. As we're heading into the evening hours, though, there are a few lingering showers. We continue to clear that on out, and you're much drier the rest of the overnight with widespread lows in the upper 40s. There we go with a much quieter futurecast. At times, more clouds than at other points. The big picture has us clearing out, though, as you're going into Tuesday. Break back out the shades, put away the rain gear. Much breezier northerly flow will persist as you're going into Tuesday. Temperatures will be on the rise overall, feeling very comfortable for this time of year. A lot of sunshine to go around. We'll get past a few morning clouds, leading to more afternoon sunshine, highs in the 60s to the 70s. We'll take you along the coast with widespread highs in the middle to the upper 60s these next several days. Each day with plenty of sunshine. Further inland with highs in the lower 70s on Tuesday, upper 60s, lower 70s to close out the week. Into the mountains with a few clouds on Tuesday. We get rid of that middle toward the end of the week. Highs in the lower 50s to persist as you're kicking off a new weekend. Saturday, the high of 58, not too shabby. We'll leave you in the desert where you're also getting rid of the clouds Tuesday. Plenty of sunshine to prevail Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Seasonably cool highs in the upper 60s. Overall, very pleasant. We'll certainly take that. Saturday, another day to grab the shades and you can ride with the top and the windows down. Highs will top out close to 70. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Lauren Rainson. Back to you.
San Diego libraries want residents to pick up a book this new year. KPBS reporter Taryn Mento tells us how young and adult readers can win prizes.
It's not exactly quiet in the children's section at the San Diego Downtown Library, but you can just hear James Jang reading out loud with his children.
Bruce has a big imagination. He loves to dress up as his favorite hero.
The Jang family of 5 stopped by on a cloudy day while visiting from Portland. Mother Abigail Jang says she relies on libraries during vacation or amid the frequent moves for her husband's job because they often have incentive programs that keep her kids reading.
A mom nagging doesn't really help.
She says a reward, even as small as a sticker, can keep her 2, 4, and 5-year-olds motivated.
It helps us as a team. We're like a team to kind of achieve a goal together.
That's the idea behind the library's first Winter Reading Challenge that launches next month. Participants who read at least 5 books,
I Am a Shark by Bob Shea,
or for a total of 5 hours during January, are eligible for prizes that include subway meal tickets and Maritime Museum passes.
We want to encourage people of all ages to read.
The San Diego Public Library's Emily Derry says the month-long challenge is for both kids and adults because a child's positive reading habits aren't only dependent on picking up a book for themselves. They need to witness others doing it too.
Research shows that children and teens who see the adults in their lives reading are more likely to become lifelong readers themselves.
But Derry says the Winter Reading Challenge is bigger than just San Diego. It's a nationwide competition. The 5 schools and libraries that do the best will receive $50,000 in prizes. 138 people have pre-registered for the Reading Challenge in San Diego.
What are you guys afraid of?
Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
2019 is almost on the books, and it was a wild year for viral trends. Jeremy Roth takes a look back.
2019 was a year of a wide variety of trending and viral topics. What better place to start than the Chicken Wars? In 2019, Popeye's Chicken challenged the pecking order and dropped a sandwich on their menu, taking on behemoth Chick-fil-A. It was hardly poultry in motion. In fact, it got a little ugly, with the chicken chains trading jabs on social media. But just as Popeyes got some marketing momentum, they sold out of the sandwich. Eventually, it did come back, but amid the fast food fervor, there were shouting matches, assaults, and arrests. It's just chicken, people. Come on. They say art imitates life. In 2019, life imitated art when Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper performed an intimate live rendition of Shallow from A Star Is Born at the Oscars. The steamy performance ignited an are they, aren't they avalanche on Twitter, but the romantic theory proved shallow when Gaga addressed the trending topic, assuring fans the fireworks were just a byproduct of 2 dedicated performers.
Yeah. I know.
An Instagram user's mission to get the most likes for a photo of an egg turned out to be no yolk. The pic was posted with the caption, "Let's set a world record together and get the most liked post." The egg didn't just get over the previous record holder, Kylie Jenner's number, it got over easy. It beat Jenner's 18 million likes with a whopping 53 million. Woo! Now that's what I call gone viral. Homemade video app TikTok crossed the billion download mark in 2019, and while it was trending, it spawned another trend. Lil Nas X's Old Town Road went from a TikTok meme to the longest-running #1 on Billboard's Hot 100. It inspired a slew of remixes and imitators, and a bunch of stolen Old Town Road signs. No, really. And then there was Baby Shark. Look, you heard it, you hummed it, and 4.1 billion YouTube views later, you tried to forget it but couldn't. So let's just move on. This is Jeopardy, and this was bananas. Week in and week out, viewers watched contestant James Holzhauer go on a 33-episode tear and break single-game earnings records for the iconic game show. But before you could say, "in your face, Ken Jennings," Holzhauer's earnings streak came to an end just a mere $58,000 short of the know-it-all champion's $2.52 million haul. So did you try the bottle cap challenge in 2019? The idea was simple. Try to remove a loose-fitting bottle cap with a roundhouse kick without knocking over the bottle. It started in the world of mixed martial arts fighter Max Holloway, but before you knew it, everyone from singer John Mayer to action star Jason Statham got a kick out of it. What started as a Facebook event posted as a joke to storm Area 51 and see them aliens turned into a full-on craze with over 2 million users clicking either going or interested. It brought tons of tourists to the area, but ultimately there was no raid, and the event organizer eventually expressed regret at the monster he'd created. Speaking of creating a monster, ahead of the holiday season, Peloton released an ad showing a woman being gifted one of their pricey exercise bikes and embarking on a year-long fitness journey, and it did not go over well. Critics ripped everything from the husband's seemingly tone-deaf choice of gift to the wife's stunning transformation from a fit, attractive woman to a fit, attractive woman. It wasn't all bad, though. It made a budding star out of the actress, who was quickly cast in an aviation gin ad showing her ironically drinking her sorrows away. Oh, and both of those ads went viral. In Atlanta, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Netflix has released a top 10 list of its most popular shows in 2019. Science fiction horror series Stranger Things 3 topped the list for most popular series. The Witcher and The Umbrella Academy followed behind. For comedy specials, Dave Chappelle, Sticks and Stones, Kevin Hart, Irresponsible, and Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias, One Show Fits All, came out on top. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.